Hi, it's Pete Cohen. Welcome to episode 162 of the My365 podcast series. Today's podcast is called The New Meaning of Life. What is life? Always look on the bright side of life. Do. Join me for this podcast today because I feel it is time for us to be able to look at life with a new lens. It's time for us to realize that it's our life and the meaning of our life is the meaning that we give it. Let's see what meaning you can give your life so you can be the very, very best that you can be. See you on the other side. Hi, it's Pete Cohen. Welcome to episode 162 of the My365 podcast series. Today's podcast is called The New Meaning of Life. And when I thought of calling it that, the first thing that came to my mind was Monty Python, who some of you maybe have seen the film The Life of Brian, the Holy Grail, but also the film The Meaning of Life. And in the film The Life of Brian, there is a song that is always look on the bright side of life. Now, you've probably heard that song, and maybe you are someone who does look at the bright side of life. Look, what we've been doing over the last, a few years now, we've produced this is the 162nd podcast, and all of them have different messages around truth, love, about purpose, about you becoming the person that you want to be. But ultimately, I think our life is governed by the meaning that we give life. And if you look on Google and you see how many impressions there are for that question, the meaning of life, which I did this morning, and I think it's currently number 99 of the 100 top questions that people are asked. In fact, hey Siri, what's the meaning of life?
It's nothing Nietzsche couldn't teach you.
It's nothing Nietzsche couldn't teach you. Now, I asked this yesterday, what's the meaning of life?
42.
42, this is fascinating, right? So you think 42, what's that got to do with the meaning of life? Well, there was a book called The Hitchhiker's Guide for the Galaxy, and that was the question. People asked what's the meaning of life, and they found the meaning of life was 42. What's the meaning of life?
I don't know, but I think there's an app for that.
What's the meaning of life?
Life, the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death.
Now that's really interesting. The condition that distinguishes animals and plants for inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. What's the meaning of life?
A film.
What's the meaning of life?
Life, a principle or force that is considered to underlie the distinctive quality of animate beings. I guess that includes me.
Life, a principle or force that is considered to underlie the distinctive quality of innate beings. I guess that includes me. What's the meaning of life?
I give up.
You see, you could ask it. It's crazy, right? There's so many different answers, and it's really up to you. But if you look at it from a scientific point of view, because this question, the meaning of life, has caused many debates, many arguments, many wars. And one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that we should never give advice. We should never really tell people how to live their life. But again, that could start a debate as well, rather than people need to know. Well, I think what people need to know more than anything else is they need to copy and follow people who are living lives where they are connecting, they are helping, they are servicing people, looking after people. For me, that's part of the meaning of life. But the point I want to make right here to all of you is it's your life. And maybe it's up to you to decide what meaning you want to give it. When you look at a happy life, a purposeful life, you will definitely see some key ingredients. You will see people who are definitely adding value to other people's lives. This seems to give humans the greatest sense of being a part of something and making a difference. But if you look at this from a scientific point of view, what is the meaning of life? Well, what a lot of people will explain to you, especially scientists, they'll say, well, once upon a time there was a thing that lived and it wanted to keep living, and it found a way to replicate itself, to basically take the DNA or the RNA and find a way to get that into something else. So what was there before was able to continue in some way, shape or form. That's how life has sustained itself, is that one thing found a way, as I said, to impart part of itself into something else. So part of you is part of the genetic makeup of thousands and millions of people that have come before you. And part of us is to continue to do that. That's why many people have a biological need to pass on their genes. Now, I don't know about you, but whether you have children, I don't have children at this time in my life. But I still want to pass on. I still want to give. And again, what I'm asking you to do with the meaning of your life is to consider currently, right now, what is the meaning? What is the meaning that you're giving it? What does your life mean to you? What is important to you in your life right now? Because what I see is a lot of people all over the world that are struggling. There's a gap between where people are and where they want to be. Most people are not where they want to be with their health, with their relationships, with their work. There is a gap. And the easiest thing to do with that gap is to not do anything. Just drift. Just do what lots of other people are doing. I mean, again, let me ask you a question. See, as a coach, this is a podcast, but as a coach, what coaches do is they ask questions. And the question I want to ask you is, while I'm talking to you about this, what is it that you're thinking? What is it that you're feeling? And here's the big question. What is the meaning that you're currently giving to your life? Because if your life is not what you want it to be, maybe you could give a different focus, a different energy, a different perspective. See, people don't change, and I probably said this on nearly every podcast. People don't change when we tell them what to do. People change when their perspective changes. And this is one of the main points I was going to make at the beginning, which is, I'm not here to give you advice, because who am I to give you advice? You didn't ask me for advice. And by the way, is it okay if I give you some advice? Because I don't believe we should tell anyone how to live their life. I think we should let people try and work it out for themselves. And if we can provide a supportive environment for people to learn and to give a meaning to their life that allows them to make the world a better place. And there's probably never been a more important time for all of us all around the world to think, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning that I want to give it? And you can be the most cynical person in the world if you want to be. Or you can choose to be, you can still be cynical, but still decide, I want to make a difference. I want to leave a mark. When I leave this life, I want to leave a mark. I want people maybe in hundreds of years to maybe listen to this podcast and still take something away from it, because I've left a part of myself here. Now, however you're listening or watching this right now, I'm giving you a part of me. You can take that part, use it, and do something with it, and maybe give it to someone else. What could you do? Well, for me, the meaning of my life is to care. The meaning of my life is to love. The meaning of my life is to connect. The meaning of my life is to listen. Even though I could probably get in the Great Britain talking team, I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. The meaning of my life is to grow, is to get better. And I ask all of you to think about it and to work on this in some way where you can bring your best self to the world. The man who won the Nobel Prize in 1937, a Hungarian man, his theories around syntropy, that every living cell lives for one reason, to express itself, to be the best it can be. And imagine if you put the meaning of that into your life. Of course, it's just a thought, but you know what? If we all decided to do that all around the world and become shining lights and examples to other people as best as we can, how do you think we'll leave the world? In a world now where there's never been more opportunities to do that, there's never been more freedom, there's never been more resources out there, but at the same time, there's never been more distraction. There's never been more mental health issues and challenges around the world. There's never been more people suffering from poor health, not just mental, but physical. There's never been more broken relationships. But there's never been a better time for all of us to rise up and go, you know what? This is the meaning of my life. And maybe the meaning of your life is to always look on the bright side. I'm sure that's what Monty Python kind of wanted in that song. They wanted people to look at things and laugh. They wanted people to look at things with a fresh pair of eyes, to release the grip that many of us have had on ourselves in a world that said, this is the life that you need to live. This is how you must be, rather than, is how you're being really how you want to be, and do you want to really change? And as we bring this podcast to a close, because I'm fired up right now, because I know how important this message is, and I believe it will get through to at least one of you, and your life will change as a consequence of what we are sharing together. But the real crux of all of this is to be the owner. We call it being a My365er. My365 is our community, the people who I coach every single day all over the world, who are taking advantage of a coaching opportunity. But they know it's really about owning. For me, a My365er is someone who wants to own their life, take responsibility for their life, to not blame, to not be a victim. We live in a world where lots of people are living in a world where they are victimized by the system. In fact, we're all victimized by the system to a certain extent, because we have to conform, don't we? Conform to living and acting in a certain way. And my coach said this to me years ago when he was alive. He said, you need to play the system. You need to use the system to your advantage. But if you want to use it to your advantage, you've got to be an owner. You can't be a victim. Victim means that you're victimizing yourself in many cases, telling yourself you can't, you're not good enough, it's not worth it, it hasn't worked. But rather than to rise up and maybe, just maybe, that could be the meaning of your life. To own it, to take it, to run with it, and to bring your best self into this world. Because you know what? It's your world. I actually Googled the word life, and the word means capacity for growth, continual change before death, functional activity, something that is evolving, something that is growing. Now, I don't know what you're going to take away from this podcast, but I'd love to know. Let me know some way, somehow, through Facebook, through Instagram, through however you choose. Find me, send me a message and tell me, what did you take away from this podcast? Feel free to share it. You can leave a comment on iTunes if you're listening on iTunes, or on our webpage, mi365.me/podcasts. That's mi365.me/podcasts. Or come and join our coaching community. That's mi365elite.com. That's mi365elite.com/join. And come and see the difference that coaching could make to your life. Thank you so much. What's your biggest takeaway from this podcast, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Hey, what are you going to do, huh? Have a wonderful, happy, beautiful day, and thank you for listening. All the best. Much love.